Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Yagan, yeah, am I saying your name right? Tell me, if you were king for a day and you could rewrite America's tax code, tell me the 3 changes you would make.
Number one, I would equalize labor and capital tax burdens at the top. There are a couple ways of doing that. The billionaire minimum income tax is one that would move in that direction. I won't rehash those details. Senator Johnson actually talked about a corporate tax integration type.
What's number 2?
Sure. Number 2, part of closing the labor and capital disparity is closing the Gingrich-Edwards loophole. And number 3 is ending abuse of trusts. So the estate tax has been eviscerated. Many of those, you take assets that you know are worth a lot. Right now they're purportedly worth a little because you haven't taken your company public. You put them into a trust, it explodes.
Do you support a wealth tax? Do you know what I mean by wealth tax?
I do know what you mean by wealth tax. The billionaire minimum income tax taxes income, and that I think is the way forward in that space.
Well, let me be a little more precise. Do you think appreciation of assets that are not sold, unrealized gain, should be taxed?
I think you should have to prepay tax on it that will eventually be due at sale, gift, or bequest.
What do you mean prepay the tax?
Sure. So if I have $5 billion of unrealized capital gains, I have $5 billion of taxable income, and I'm currently paying $1.5 billion on that. So that's a 15% overall tax rate.
Well, let's don't complicate this. I want to understand
Sure.
what you're saying. Let's suppose an American owns a piece of real estate they inherited from their father or their mother. And it was, when they inherited it, they got to step up in basis. It's worth $100,000. And all of a sudden, the interstate came through. And the property is now worth $1 million if they sell it. But they don't plan to sell it. They're going to leave it to the kids. Do you think that Americans should have to pay tax on the unrealized gain, the increase in value?
In general, no. At that level of wealth, for example, housing.
You think only wealthy people should?
At the very top, it's hard to tax,
But let me be sure I understand what you're saying. All right, let's suppose that's not just an average American. Let's suppose that's an American. What do you define as rich?
In the minimum income tax, it's $100 million of wealth or more.
Okay, so you think if you're really wealthy, you should have to pay a tax on your unrealized gain?
I think you should have to partially prepay if you're liquid, if you have liquidity to pay.
Do you think somebody? Why can't you economists answer questions? Should any American have to pay tax on unrealized gain? Why can't you just answer me?
Yes, there are some who should.
Who?
The ultra wealthy who have liquidity should prepay some tax.
What if they don't have liquidity?
They should not have to pay, and they will owe at sale, bequest, or gift.
So if you have cash, you ought to have to pay, but if you don't have to pay?
To prepay. I have in my testimony, there are examples of how this works so that you can preserve incentives to build a new company, take it public.
Okay. What do you think, Dr. McBride? Do you think we should start taxing unrealized gain? And what do you think that'll do to the economy?
Well, I have several concerns about the approach. The first of which is it's completely untested. It's never been tried in this country. We have more than 100 years of history with the income tax, and
Europe's tried it, haven't they?
no, they've tried wealth taxes.
Yeah.
Their experience
How'd that
with
turn
wealth
out?
taxes has
How did
been
that turn out?
bad. It
Why is
resulted
that?
in a lot of taxpayers exiting the country, for one thing. In France, for instance, other countries that have tried it. and you suddenly lose a big chunk of your tax base that you're trying to tax there. We have that option in this country as well. The result has been that most of those countries in Europe that have tried a wealth tax have rolled them back,
Yeah.
including France, because they were administratively challenging. The basic challenge is what you're describing, trying to value assets without real market transactions. So this is a valuation dispute. It means we get the IRS engaged in yet another challenge. They're currently doing this with the estate tax. Those estates that are subject to the estate tax, those valuation episodes can go years and years and years.
Can I have 30 more seconds?
Proceed.
Dr., is it Clausing? Clausing?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you and Dr. Yagan, why do y'all want to punish wealthy people?
I think I can speak for both of us that we're not interested in punishing anyone. We're interested
Well,
in
you're
having
interested
a
in taxing
fiscal
the hell out of them
system.
more than anybody else.
I think
the
what
reforms
that Professor
what makes you think that making tax policy on the basis of class or status makes sense?
I think it's a very American phenomena that throughout the history of the income tax, we have valued progressivity, and our current income tax does that. We used to rely on things like tariffs to raise revenue. Tariffs are regressive consumption taxes that disproportionately hurt the poor. We believe in this country that those with the greater ability to pay should pay more of the burden. And that's part of what a healthy capitalism does. It enables people to gain from things like trade and technological change and business innovation, and to contribute a little more to the fiscal system when they're very successful in doing so. And I think that that's a very legitimate way to structure the tax system.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why do you think so many wealthy people are leaving New York City?
New York City is, an incredible city of innovation, immigration, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, but why are so many wealthy people leaving?
I think there are big advantages to living near centers of entrepreneurial activity, and we see that on the West
You think they're leaving to be nearer to centers of entrepreneurial activity, do you?
Well, I don't think there are a lot of people, fleeing New York City. That New York City has.
Sure there are. There are thousands. I mean, there have been study after study after study. Why are so many wealthy people leaving New York City?
I think there's an enormous number of wealthy people who are in New York City and continue.
But why
to
are so many leaving?
I can't speak to why particular people
I can
leave.
tell you
I
why.
know
It's
that-
taxes. You know that as well as I do. It's
I
taxes.
think if you look at the economic,
Some of it's crime, but most of it is taxes.
well,
People vote with their feet. The same reason that people are leaving California and moving to Austin.
if you look at California, it's one of the most successful economies in the world, and it continues to be so. It attracts people.
But they're
as
losing
well.
people.
I don't think it's in any danger of decline, nor is New York City. And these are very vibrant places.
I don't think we're going to
for
ever
fundamental
agree.
reasons. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to ever agree. But I appreciate the time of all three of you.
Thank you.
To be fair, there also are people moving the other way. There are people who move to New York. They just don't all leave from New York. It's a two-way street in and out of New York. And it's a two-way street between Austin and California. People leave Texas and go to California, and some of them do very well.
Well, that's true, Sheldon, but I can show you study after study after study, as you well know, and as the professor knows, that shows that people are leaving high-tax states and moving to low-tax states. All you have to do is
Well, they
look at
also leave,
all you have to do is look at the demographics. Pick the 9 states that have, say, a state income tax, and compare that, or that don't have a state income tax, and compare that to the states that do. It's called tax avoidance, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly legal.
People have different preferences. If you look at where immigrants choose to live in the United States, they often go to those same places that you were talking about. So I do think that, there's movement in both directions.
Yeah, but here's my point. Here's what I think rational people do, and here's what I bet all three of you would do, and I bet Sheldon would do it because he's a smart guy. Okay, if he won the lottery tomorrow and won $10 million, and paid his taxes and has $6 million left, he's going to at least consider, you are too, moving to Florida. Because
I
they don't have a
wouldn't.
state income tax.
For the record, no, I wouldn't. Never crossed my mind.
Well, most rational, well, I don't mean you're irrational, so you know that. But
It can be quite rational to not want to
But
live
when
in
you're
Florida right
liquid,
now.
when you're liquid, and you don't have to pay a 6% off the top versus 0%, it's a rational economic move, is it not?
I agree. It's rational. I mean, the thing about taxes that we're talking about is they're a cost or a price, and so claiming that this cost or price doesn't matter is essentially throwing out the very basic law of demand, the basic fundamental idea in economics. That prices matter, that costs matter.
See, this is what this always boils down to, and there's no way we'll ever agree, okay? But at least two of you believe that government, all things being equal, can spend a dollar better than people can. That's your this is America. You can believe that.
For the record, that's not in their testimony.
I just don't agree with you. I think people can spend the dollar better, all things being equal. And all you have to do, if you know the history of government, you know that I'm right. But I don't expect you to agree with me because you're professors. Okay? Thanks, Sheldon.
Hey, before you click on the next video, if y'all could do me a big favor and hit that like button. The algorithm loves it, and so do I, because it helps promote these videos and get the message out about what our government has been doing. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because every time I put out a video, you want to know about it, right? Thanks again, and have a good one. See you on the next one. Peace.